Memphis and Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this dreary Friday here in South Louisiana. But glad to be here. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Working towards the weekend, got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos, and we got a busy show to get to. Preston Guy, as usual, with us in 15 minutes talking LSU football. Got to get you ready for conference championship games in the NFL. LSU and Alabama in basketball on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. LSU baseball media days is ongoing. Tommy White meeting with the media right now. We just heard from Gage Jump, and Jay Johnson spoke a little earlier, and you heard some of that on live at lunch. I have my reaction to some of the things I heard from a baseball perspective coming up in an hour. So strap in with us here for the next couple of hours, and we'll get you done with that work week. If you're just not quite finished, we can get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll start with last night in the PMAC, and South Carolina gets the win 76-70. There are a lot of different angles that I'd like to approach it from, and so we will. The end result is a loss for LSU. How debilitating is that loss? Not significantly. It's a really impressive win for South Carolina, and that's why they're a championship program with a great coach and an incredible roster. But these two teams may see each other again, whether it's in the SEC tournament or with a lot on the line in the NCAA tournament. And if it's anything like what we saw last night, it'll be a heck of a ball game. I want to start with the environment and just how cool it was to see on television. I think everyone that's listening to this show has some strong feelings toward LSU. Maybe you are 80% of your LSU fandom is tied up in that football team. You'll chalk up 15 to baseball and 3 or 4 to basketball or women's basketball, and not too into softball, and gymnastics doesn't do it for you. Maybe you're just a huge LSU baseball fan. That is your favorite team, and you love football, but you also love to go to the gym meets. And maybe you're just a huge LSU women's basketball fan, and that is the one that over the last 2 years has captured your heart because they're so good and they're the defending national champs. Either way, no matter where you fall on that spectrum, if you wear that purple and gold, like, you have to appreciate just how great last night was. To sell that place out and to have College Game Day there. To have students lined up down the ramp. To have Dick Vitale tweeting about it. It was an event last night in Baton Rouge, and that's really, really cool for everyone involved. That's the best part of collegiate athletics, is to create those incredible environments and moments. And very few collegiate athletes get to experience something like those ladies did last night. And if you were in the building, I'm certain you were on the edge of your seat for the entirety of that ball game. And it was a great one. And quite frankly, as you look at the box score to finish the game, it tells the story of a wildly competitive basketball game. South Carolina shot 47%. LSU shot 45%. South Carolina made 31 field goals. LSU made 30. LSU was 6 of 18 from 3. South Carolina was 7 of 20, both right around 34%. Both teams were bad from the free throw line. LSU was 4 of 9, and South Carolina was 7 of 13. Both teams turned the ball over 12 times. Both teams committed just over double-digit fouls. It was a very, very competitive game all the way through. LSU threw the first punch. South Carolina threw the knockout blow at the end. And again, that's South Carolina's championship pedigree. They outscored LSU 6-0 over the last minute and a half. And there are a couple of things that I take from this game. One, just from the actual game itself, and two, is a big picture thing. We're going to go from the actual game itself. Angel Reese has got to understand who she is and what team she plays for. She is the best front court player on this team. And as Samaya Smith goes down early in the season, and you just have Del Rosario off the bench as a true post, Morrow's great, but she's not a on-the-block player like Angel Reese and Samaya Smith, and then, of course, Del Rosario. Angel Reese is not replaceable on this team. She's just not. And so when you get 2 fouls in the first half, you can't commit another one, which she didn't. And when you get your 4th foul, until there are 40 seconds left in that game, you cannot commit a 5th foul. You give up a layup. I fought this battle when I was on the beat with Johnny O'Bryant 13, 14 years ago. The best player on the team, the best offensive player on the men's team, he would pick up 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes of an SEC game like clockwork. Johnny, you now have to sit for 14 minutes. When you get your first foul, you got to be very, very cautious on defense and give up points. And I realize it's very hard to give up points when there's 4 minutes to go in a really tough game. And if you've got to play defense on somebody that's got the ball on the block and you're playing defense, like, play defense with your hands up, don't reach and slap, but you got to play defense. This was off the ball, and she just came from the back on a fast break and hacked the girl. No, you can't. You have to let her shoot it. She might miss it. And then you got to you cannot disqualify yourself from the game. The athletes that we cover day to day, whether it's the New Orleans Saints or the Pelicans on the professional level, or the elite high school players that we talk about in recruiting, have been given such incredible gifts. And that's necessary to win. But there's a mental side of this thing that I think oftentimes the aggressiveness and intensity takes over instead of kind of understanding the moment. And in that point, yeah, you want to play defense and you want to block that shot and you want to make a big play. You can't. This team is 6 players deep, 7 players deep. Angel Reese is very, very, very important. Cannot commit that foul. And Kim Mulkey, after the game, was asked about losing Angel Reese for the last 4 minutes and what that meant to her team.
When you don't have Angel Reese on the floor the last 4 minutes of the game, it takes you out of your rhythm. It takes you out of your confidence zone. I thought the game came down to exactly what it usually does. It's just toughness. It's experience. That was a good basketball game. Our kids fought really hard. And when you don't have your All-American on the floor to rebound first and to guard Cardoza as well, I thought we battled and did about as good as we could.
She's got to be on the floor. That's for this game. This is big picture now that I'm going to talk about with this LSU women's basketball team. They don't have any depth. You lose Samaya Smith, Kateri Poole no longer with the team. You're low on numbers. And if you watched that game last night, whether you were in the PMAC or watching on television, you saw an LSU team, whether it's Angel Reese, Haley Van Lith, Anissa Morrow, Flaugier, like all of those women were playing with so much intensity and so much emotion, yelling, screaming, fist pumping, pumping up the crowd. You know, you got Flaugier doing the airplane. Like, they are playing with so much emotion. And you can't take that away from a team that is playing in such a big spot. That's the biggest game that we played in college basketball in terms of intensity until the Final Four. And this team, while you cannot take all of your intensity away, you have to cool it a little bit. Because you're going to ask Flaugier to play 40 minutes and Haley Van Lith to play 38 minutes and Michaela Williams to play 38 minutes and Anissa Moore to play 34 minutes. It's hard to play 40 minutes against a South Carolina or an Iowa or a UCLA when 3 minutes into the first quarter, you are roaring after every bucket you hit. I get it. That's the fun. That's why you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to run the levee and lift weights. That's why you do all the things you do in preparation for the season to enjoy those moments, because That's why you play sports, is to enjoy the incredible atmosphere that really very little else in this life gives us. Having 14,000 people roaring and screaming at your every move doesn't happen for a lot of humans. And they've earned that. But when you move forward, I think it's in their best interest to play with the intensity on defense, the intensity on offense, but maybe calm down with the emotional displays. Because, ladies, I need you 38 minutes at your best. And they were awesome for 36 minutes last night, and they lost the last 4. Part of that is certainly because South Carolina is really, really good. And I think part of it is because South Carolina could go 10 deep. Only Pau played 35-plus minutes. Only Pau played, Johnson played 36. But you were giving a lot of their starters 8, 9 minutes of breather. Flaugier got none. It's the hand that LSU's been dealt by injuries and circumstances off the floor, but it's something you can prepare for, and you can try to conserve some energy. And I'll say this, when the NCAA tournament comes, it would really behoove LSU to beat the brakes off some people early in that tournament and get some of these ladies off the floor late in games. Conserve those legs, because they're good enough to play with everybody. That's as good a team as you're going to play, and you played right with them. But you got to conserve some energy, I think, at points. So, look, y'all know, I don't hide from this. I don't watch every dribble of every play, every game that LSU lady basketball plays. I don't. We're talking about right at the top of the show. Like, we all kind of divvy our interests other places. But last night, I watched every dribble. My wife, who won't even watch football, literally watched last night. It's a big deal down here. And that was an incredible spectacle that, once again, LSU, no matter the sport, has put itself on. Just didn't quite have enough against a really good South Carolina team. My gut tells me these two teams will see each other again somewhere down the road. Hopefully it's as intense a game, as well-played a game as that one was. All right, let's look back at last night, LSU and South Carolina. We're going to get to some NFL in about 20 minutes. I've got thoughts on LSU baseball as they met with the media earlier today, and we'll practice this weekend, start some scrimmages. I'm going to go out there on Sunday and check them out before I watch a little bit of football. When we come back, we will switch to LSU football. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com will join us. Talking some football next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. A lot of folks refinanced their homes a couple of years ago, got a great rate, and they're kind of locked into that home for a significant amount of time. Feel comfortable with your mortgage, comfortable with your home, location, all that's great. You can upgrade it, add some value to that home. One Bath and Closets can do a full-scale bathroom or closet renovation for you. Customize it to you, but add value to your home at the same time. They're a licensed contractor. It's the only call you will make. You don't have to call 4 different people to handle 4 different aspects of the job. Call David Duvall and his team. They come in, they handle it soup to nuts, as he said, and they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. Testimonials from satisfied customers, pictures of their great work. It's functional and beautiful. Plus, you can get that free consultation right there at the website. One Bath and Closets at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Recapping LSU South Carolina for the PMAC, it's Baseball Media Day, and the Riot Radio Hours return. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Shout out Corks. I have not ruled out Corks for this evening's dinner festivities. We'll have to check with the boss lady of the house. I also may get some Corks on Sunday to watch football. You should do the same thing. They've got fantastic fried fish and fried catfish. Just had their first anniversary just a couple of weeks ago over there at Corks. Medinka Brothers brought you Kuyons across the river in Port Allen. Brought you Corks just over a year ago, and it's been an awesome year, and we appreciate them for being part of our Friday shows. Get on by Government Street between Foster and Jefferson. CorksFishandShrimp.com is where you can see the menu. All your catering needs, they can handle that for you, whether you want to feed the office, feed a big family. Maybe you got a Hester-sized family. Just got like 100 children. Well, maybe you got to feed them. Corks can help you do that for sure with their delicious golden fried shrimp, crispy fried catfish, shoestring fries, crawfish etouffee, beignet bites. It's all good over there at Corks. Check them out at CorksFishandShrimp.com. We're trying to hook up with Preston Guy, and if we can't, I may pivot to baseball because there were a few things that were said at Media Days today that I would like to get into. And so it sounds like we will do that pivoting towards baseball. So, surprise! We were going football, now headed over to baseball. Jay Johnson met with the media today, and one of the things that I picked up on, it was not hard on some sort of perspective thing, but I heard Jay Johnson talk probably 5 times before the season last year. I heard him at the Rotary Club. I heard him at the first pitch banquet, heard him at Media Day, and heard him kind of do some interviews on the radio shows that we have. And he consistently brought up a lot of the same messages. It was Warren Morris not playing early in his career. It was Kurt Ainsworth redshirting and not playing early in his career, and then going on to pitch in a World Series like 5 years later. It was DJ LeMahieu moving positions. It was Austin Nolan, Mikey Matuk waiting their turn, who became big leaguers. And it was Leon Landry being part of a winning program and being kind of taken out of the lineup a little bit when that shuffle was made and Matuk came into the lineup. And all those guys in different circumstances kind of sacrificed, even though they were great players, for the betterment of the team and for an eventual national championship. And he was speaking to, guys who may be older, who may lose some playing time, guys who may be younger, who may not get the playing time that they thought they would get when they got to college. And he was hammering this point home, hammering it. And that was one of the things that I thought was so wonderful about the story of last year's team was like Gavin Dugas wasn't in the lineup to start the season. And then Tommy White gets hurt, so they got to shake up the infield, and somebody's got to go play third. So Napolt goes over there and plays third, and then Dugas has got to play in there at second. He kind of won the job, and there we go. Hayden Travinski, older player. Alex Milazzo, older player. Brady Neal won the catching job. They kind of had to sit. And then they had their chance, and they both were great down the stretch. Josh Pearson had a monster finish to his freshman year. One of the best hitters on the team towards that regional in Hattiesburg. Not in the lineup early, but kept chipping away and got some opportunities and made it happen. I mean, Thatcher Hurd got his way into the rotation and then got pulled out of the rotation. You had Riley Cooper started in the rotation, got demoted, wasn't getting guys out. Who was a more important relief pitcher than Cooper last year? Gavin Guidry came in a competition to play second base, became a pitcher. All these stories throughout the year lined up with the message that Jay Johnson was continuously preaching. And I thought once the season ended, it was such a cool story because Jay Johnson, who had never coached a national championship team, was able to have the foresight to preach that message. If Skip comes up with that after 3 national championships, well, he's already done it. It makes sense. If Coach Maneri's doing that in the mid, like he's climbed the mountain. Jay's never done that. He's been at LSU for 2 years. So I thought that was really impressive that the roadmap he laid out materialized over the course of February to June. And so I was curious what the message would be to Jay Johnson, to his team, because now the entire mindset of the program shifts a little bit. You've climbed the mountain. What are you going to tell the guys? Can't learn from any failure last year. Like, I guess theoretically you could learn from blowing a 9-run lead to Mississippi State or losing 2 out of 3 against Auburn. I guess you could learn from losing 2 games in the SEC tournament, but there wasn't a lot of failure to learn from last year. So how do you coach a team that's won? And I caught something at Media Days today that lended itself to like, oh, this is probably what he's preaching to them. And he said that only twice in the 2000s has LSU been to Omaha back-to-back years. It's the premier program in college baseball. The blue blood of the sport, 7 national championships. Attendance records being shattered. Jello shot records being shattered. Like, this is the place. But only twice since 2000 have you been to Omaha in back-to-back years. Smoke did it in 03 and 04. Never won a game, but went back-to-back years. And Paul Maneri went in 2008 with that magical win streak and went back in 2009. But was not able to do it in back-to-back years after that. Made it in 13, made it in 15, made it in 17. But never back-to-back. So that's the point that Jay Johnson's obviously going to be making to this team. Is like, hey, I realize we did something great, but here's another goal. And if you look at the halls that you walk every day with Todd Walker and DJ LeMahieu and Alex Bregman and Aaron Nola on the walls, guys that you see on TV, with Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens and the awards that they won, all these guys that have been in this program over the years, like since 2000, nobody's gotten to that destination 2 years in a row. There's your goal. There are very few things you can accomplish at LSU that don't happen routinely. This is one of them. And by all accounts, Milazzo and Travinski have taken this bull by the horns, and they are the dudes, the alphas in that room. They've started their podcast, The Dirt, which you can see on the LSUsports.net or on the YouTube channel. And they like to cut up a little bit on that, but by all accounts, those guys are running the show over there from a player perspective. And that's important. You got to have guys like that. Travinski's wearing the number 8. Milazzo's been here since, I believe, the first Clinton administration. So those are leaders. You've obviously got Thatcher Hurd, who's going to be a huge piece of this thing. Tommy White is going to be an All-American. You've got other guys that have been around the block. Mac Bingham and Michael Braswell have played high-level baseball, but they're new. I think that's probably the mantra of this team right now as they get ready to embark on a defense. And Tommy White was talking to the media, and I think this is probably a coaching point as well, because I pick up this from an answer that Tommy gave. He said, well, what about defending a title? I'm paraphrasing. The question is like, well, what about trying to defend a national championship? And he said, we're not defending anything. We're attacking. I think that's probably a mindset as well. And look, I think a lot of times mindsets can get over. It's easy to talk about a mindset. Having it is a different thing. But because of the way that last year played out and the way that Jay Johnson talked about how things need to go, and then watching them unfold just like that over the course of 4 months, it's just easier to buy into it because you've just watched it. And I think there are a lot of guys in that room that have the confidence to believe in the leaders, to believe in their coach because of what they just watched. And I just heard Gage jump. He was the last person that was talking right before I came on air. Left-handed pitcher from UCLA. We're going to talk more about him on Monday because there are a few layers to that I want to talk about. But he spoke to just how different people going about their work and business is at LSU as opposed to what he saw at UCLA. And UCLA is a proud program. And Coach Savage is a fantastic coach. He's a national championship coach. Now, he plays in a little bit of a different world out there now than where LSU plays, but they're always good. And he's still recruiting guys like Thatcher Hurd and Gage Jump. Now, I can't keep them. A different world over here, like I'm saying. But that's a great program. But Gage Jump is speaking like this is a different deal than what I just came from. And I think that's eye-opening as well because we're not there day to day. We can't touch that and see that. But they're there, and they can say it to us. We can hear it and go, okay. They got 3 weeks to get ready for this thing. But, today, more so than breaking down who's the right fielder and who's hitting second on this team, I think some of the things that you hear based on the messaging within that program are important because as long as Jay Johnson's there, very rarely, if ever, is it going to be an issue if they just don't have the dudes. They're going to have the dudes as long as Jay is piloting the ship. He told a lot of stories today about recruiting when they were in Omaha. When they were in Omaha, they got Braswell, they got Gage Woods, and one maybe Holman was right after that, I think. But he flew out to get Holman right after. But they were getting dudes for the next team while he was in Omaha, and he told that story. If you want to go back and listen to the press conference, they're going to have the dudes. Just a matter of what's the makeup of the team, and it starts at the top, and then the rest of the guys have to buy it. And today, I really thought that they've only done this twice in 24 years. Means it's one, really hard to do, and two, you can accomplish something that doesn't happen very often. That's hard to do at LSU. So that's something that I took from LSU Baseball Media Day today. You can go back and check out all of the press conferences on demand over at LSU Sports on their YouTube channel. So you can go check that out. They heard from Jay Johnson, Gage Jump, Tommy White, Josh Pearson. I think that may be it. Maybe there was another one to come, but that's all that I saw earlier today. All right, hopefully we get to Preston Guy a little bit later, talk some LSU football, maybe not. Either way, we are going to talk about the NFL coming up next because some pretty big games coming up on Sunday. It's on Palmer.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Love telling you about Boudreaux's Electric. Not storm season right now, and we may have had our only winter event of the year, although you never know. But we know that another storm season is eventually going to show up. Why not protect yourself from power outages with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric? For just $5.20 a day over the lifetime of that generator's warranty, you can have the peace of mind you're not going to lose power. Whether it's just that nuisance power outage that happens for our summer storms where you can't watch the game you're trying to watch or it's hard to take a shower because there's no light in there, to the week-long hurricane situations that we tend to happen from time to time. Let Boudreaux's give you the peace of mind and the protection of a Generac generator so you never lose power in your home. Boudreaux's 40 years in business, just opening up a new Gonzales location, and the phone line already works. Give them a call, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. That's our friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13.
On Monday's OTB, which 2 teams made it to the big game? Plus, did the Pels manage to knock off the Thunder? And we got spread lines and weekend winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
I hear that T-Bob promo, and I always think about how they pop champagne bottles at 9 o'clock in the morning on Friday. And like, I'm all about having one drink at like 6 p.m. I'll drink one beer at the grill or have one, scotch like at night or even at like 5 o'clock. That's fine. I don't know if I want to have like one champagne thing at 9 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Like, I mean, if I'm going to go play like a charity golf tournament, I'm going to have like 7 beers on Friday. Like, that seems like a fun thing to do. That just feels like a hangover waiting to happen.
Multiple bottles of champagne, by the way.
Well, there's 3-4 of them.
Yeah, like, but still, I mean, I don't know. To me, champagne, I don't know. Whenever I drink champagne, I don't really feel like it really affects me that much. But I feel like if you drink a couple bottles of it, you're probably going to be feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we knocked down a couple bottles when I was in college watching game day every Saturday. Like, that would go quick with orange juice. don't know if that was the finest champagne in the
Yeah.
land. But, I mean, look, I love a drink as probably more than the next guy, but I just don't really want 2 cups of champagne at 9 o'clock in the morning on Friday and then like, all right, what do I do now the rest of the day? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not where my head is. But I'm glad they have fun doing it. Speaking of fun, Sunday's going to be fun because we got conference championship games. Let's go. Interesting little tidbits here. Over the last 10 years, the NFC and AFC home teams in the conference championship games, 8-2 in both leagues, so 16-4 over time. It makes sense. The better team's at home, and they're at home, so it would stand to reason that the home teams would have a better record, but that's a pretty strong record over the last 10 years in conference championship games. Also, a little interesting nugget, teams that play on Saturday of divisional week, they get that extra day of rest, are 19-9 on Championship Sunday since 2011. In 17 of the last 19 years, at least one Saturday team has won. The Saturday winners from last week are the Ravens and the 49ers, the 1 seed. So, little extra rest, home field, the scales tip way in the favor of those 1 seeds for good reason. They're really good teams. I don't think that's a shocking stat, but those stats exist nonetheless. Sunday, 2 o'clock, CBS, the 3 seed Chiefs at the number 1 seed Ravens. It's a 3.5-point number. Baltimore is favored. Everyone's talking about Lamar against Mahomes, and they should because those 2 guys rock. But these are the top 2 scoring defenses in the regular season in the National Football League. The Ravens only allowed 16.5 points per game. Kansas City only allowed 17.3 points per game. Chiefs defense, since Steve Spagnuolo has taken over as defensive coordinator in 2019, have had one little bugaboo. No team in the NFL has allowed more rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks than the Chiefs over the last 5 years. Now, Lamar runs like crazy. He hasn't scored a lot, only 5 rushing TDs in the regular season. He had 2 last week against Houston. That could be obviously something to watch Lamar with his feet. Of the top, here's a good note on Kansas City's defense. Incidentally, the top 21 defensive snap getters on Kansas City's defense, 17 either drafted or signed as a rookie free agent by Kansas City. And their average age is 25.4 years old, the youngest unit in the National Football League. You're pairing Patrick Mahomes with that young, good defense for some years to come. That's a really, really good recipe. Looking at the Saints, I'm seeing Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May and Mario Davis. I'm seeing the 2 tackles that they signed this past year, and I'm seeing a lot of guys they've signed off the scrap heap into that defense. Draft them and develop them. That's what the Chiefs have done. They've done it very, very well. However, I think the Ravens are too good here. Listen to the Ravens games against playoff teams. They beat Houston 25-9. They beat the Browns 28-3. They beat Detroit 38-6. These are all playoff teams. The Rams, they beat 37-31, beat San Francisco 33-19, and beat Miami 56-19. Their average margin of victory over playoff teams, 21.6 points per game. Of course, they did lose to Pittsburgh and Cleveland. So, it hasn't been perfect, but it's been really, really good. I just think that the Ravens are too much for this Chiefs team. Mahomes is awesome. His receivers are not. Their defense is good. It's not good enough. I like Baltimore. I'll lay the 3.5 points in the AFC Championship game. And Detroit is headed to San Francisco. That's a 7-point number. San Francisco is favored. The Lions have to have 2 things to compete. 2 things. They've got to run the football with Jahmyr Gibbs and with David Montgomery. Over the last 4 games, San Francisco has been susceptible to the run. We think of them as being so physical, so tough, and they are, but they have given up some plays on the ground in the last month. Detroit's got to get that first and foremost. Cannot let that San Francisco pass rush pin itself back and go after Jared Goff. The second thing that the Lions need is the inverse of that. They need Aiden Hutchinson to go nuts. And he has over the last 4 games. He's got 8 sacks over the last 4 games, and his pass rush win rate is over 35%. He has been at another level over the last month of the season or so. That's a non-negotiable for the Lions if they're going to go over there and win. I'm pulling for the Lions. I think everyone's pulling for the Lions. I have nothing against San Francisco at all, and I don't have any real tie to the Detroit Lions. I just appreciate teams climbing the mountain that have never done it. I can remember 2003 LSU football. that was such an unbelievable thing. And I certainly remember 2016 with the Chicago Cubs, and in a fan base that is starving for it, that has never seen it, there's something beautiful about that in sports. I'd love to watch San Francisco play in the Super Bowl because they're awesome, and I think they'd give either team from the AFC a great game. I think the story that would develop if Detroit could win the game would be fantastic, and I'm going to pick Detroit to win the game. I'll certainly take the 7 points. I think San Francisco is playing okay. I think they're a better team than Detroit, but I'm just going to pick Detroit to go over there with the belief that that team has and with the chip on its shoulder that I think that city has and I think Jared Goff has. I don't know if Brock Purdy's the guy to hurt that porous Detroit secondary, and I don't know if Deebo Samuel's going to play, quite frankly, and that's pretty important. San Francisco, when Deebo Samuel doesn't play since he's been drafted, 8-9. Now, he's probably going to play because he practiced a little bit today and he's limited. He's probably going to play, but is he healthy? Can he get dinged up and knocked out of the game? Maybe. So give me Detroit in that game to win. I will take the Ravens and the Lions. Incidentally, though, if the 1 seeds do win, I might have to go back and revisit some of my sound from August when we were picking winners because it may sound familiar. That's my look at the championship games coming up on Sunday. Beck, you got any thoughts on who you think wins these 2 games? You're going to take the home 1 seeds?
Yeah, I like the Lions. And
really?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
Does anyone else besides us like the Lions?
I don't know. I don't know why, because the Lions are really good. And the 49ers, I think, even though it's going to be at home for them, I think the Lions played really well. The 49ers probably should have lost last week. But I think the Ravens as well. I got the Ravens as well in the AFC. That Lamar Jackson is just playing better than anybody right now. So
they're the best team in the league.
Yeah, they are.
If that doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl,
right? That's true.
You go out there for 60 minutes, but they're the best team in the leagues. But look, not a lot of people have won a ton of money betting against Patrick Mahomes. That's
true as well.
That's for sure. So I'm excited to watch a little bit of football coming up on Sunday. Also excited to get out there and watch some baseball Sunday. At about 1 o'clock, I think is when they're going to scrimmage. That's when the weather should clear out of here. Just an awful weather week for us here in South Louisiana. I guess technically better than last week because it was like freezing and you couldn't leave the house. But not
it's
good.
Been bad,
it's
though.
Just been disgusting outside. Hopefully that changes come this weekend. We got LSU basketball that we're going to talk about in hour number 2. We've got some more reaction to LSU baseball media days we're going to get to in hour number 2. When we come back, another thought on SEC basketball as we enter another full Saturday of action. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Charles Hannegriff join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from Big Mike's in Denham Springs on Aspen Square. We'll take a look back at a big weekend in college basketball, and the Super Bowl is set. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge brings you live coverage of the 2024 Reese's Senior Bowl. Our team of T-Bob Hebert and Jacob Hester will be hosting Off the Bench live from Mobile, Alabama, next Monday, January 29th through Thursday, February 2nd. Listen on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and watch us on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Gavin Guidry, LSU sophomore right-hander, is speaking with the media now. I guess they're doing it different than they have in the past. Certainly when I was covering the team, the head coach at that point was Paul Maneri, would speak for 30, 45 minutes, and then the media would be able to go out to the field toward the locker room and just kind of talk with whatever player they had available, whatever player that they wanted to talk to for 45 minutes or so, and then the guys would go out there and practice. Now I think they're just bringing individual players up there for press conferences to meet with everybody. So earlier we saw Jay Johnson, and then we saw Gage Jump, and then we saw Tommy White, and then we saw Josh Pearson, now Gavin Guidry speaking. So looks like a lot of guys making the rounds. So we'll have a lot of that sound coming up for you next week. And I've still got some more thoughts on some of the things that I heard earlier today on LSU baseball right at the top of the hour, so in about 12 minutes from right now, before we get into some LSU basketball at about 2:15. But I do want to briefly talk about the SEC basketball schedule for tomorrow. It is not good. It is one of those where the top dogs are playing some bottom feeders, and you don't have a lot of great matchups in the middle. Like, who are the best teams in the league? Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky. They're not playing anybody that's any good. Auburn's going to Mississippi State, who's 2-4 in the league. Tennessee's going to Vanderbilt, who's the worst team in the league. Kentucky's going to Arkansas, who can't do anything. Game day is going to be there. I wonder if anybody at Bud Walton's even going to show up for game day. They're so put out with the product that they've put out. I just made fun of them for 5 minutes on the show yesterday. They've been so bad. So those are all games that nobody really cares about. As far as those games between teams right there in the middle, which is what I've been talking about a lot over the last couple of weeks, you do have Ole Miss and A&M, which is the late game on SEC Network. That's a pair of 3-3 teams that I think have good coaches. I think A&M's better than Ole Miss, but the record wouldn't show that at this point. So I'm curious to see how that one goes in College Station. But, Georgia, Florida, I think fits into that category as well. That's kind of the Mike White Bowl these days. Mike White left Florida to go to Georgia. Probably asked, maybe go grab another job. We're going to figure something else out. But Georgia, who we saw earlier this week, is 4-2. They'll go play a 3-3 Florida team. South Carolina, I think, is kind of in the middle of the pack, but they're playing Missouri, so that's not super interesting to anybody at this point. And the other game is LSU and Alabama, which will be a 7 o'clock tip-off on ESPN from Coleman Coliseum. I'll give my full preview of the Crimson Tide coming up in hour number 2. So if you forced me to sit down and look at a couple of these games and what I thought would happen, I think the early game, Georgia and Florida, is interesting because now I'm kind of trying to do a little bit of the transitive property, although it doesn't always work. It rarely works, but a little bit with LSU and how they stack up. LSU went to Georgia and played them to the buzzer. How does Georgia stand up down in Gainesville? We'll just have to see about that. And then that last game where I think A&M still has something to them, and it's hard to sell that to anybody when A&M shoots like 20% every time they go out there. But there's something about a team that consistently rebounds that well, that has usually the most dynamic scorer on the floor in Wade Taylor. Like, that's sometimes a recipe to win some games. They've won 3 of 5 since a bad start, and one of the losses was a buzzer beater loss at Arkansas, so maybe it's not quite as bad as it's perceived to be. Unfortunately, LSU wasn't able to kind of finish that deal and get it done against Texas A&M. And then Auburn, Mississippi State. State did beat Tennessee in Starkville, and this game is in Starkville. We know how good Auburn is at home. We also know that Auburn went to Tuscaloosa earlier this week on Wednesday and got beat in a really close one. Do they respond and go to the hump and win? Auburn is high flying, and they're really skilled, and they're really good on both ends of the floor, and they're a handful. Mississippi State's really just trying to beat you on defense, and you got Tolu Smith from Mississippi State and Johni Broome at Auburn, who are 2 of the best bigs in the league, will be going at each other in that game. I think Auburn finds a way to get it done. I was thinking earlier today, what's going to win the SEC? Like, what number is going to win the SEC? Usually we see a team that just is a freight train, whether it's the 16-2 LSU team that was so good. We saw Cal have an undefeated season with Kentucky at one time. Last year's Alabama team, I believe, only lost 2 games all year, maybe only 1 game all year in league play. I think that the teams at the top are more susceptible than that. You've got right now Auburn, Alabama, and Tennessee all with 1 loss in league play. I think 14-4 with the right tiebreaker might win this thing. And that's probably a rarity. And that's, I think the case because you don't have, in my opinion, a dominant team, and you've got a little bit of a top-heavy nature to this thing where they could beat up on each other a little bit and not have one team that just rolls right on through. We'll see. Alabama got crushed by Tennessee in Knoxville, so that game's already been played. Alabama and Auburn have played in Auburn. They got to go in Tuscaloosa. They got to go to Auburn to play that one. So still a lot of games to be played, and I think that 14-4 probably wins it. LSU not going to finish 14-4 this year. I'll kind of give you my thoughts on what they got to do to go to Coleman Coliseum, be competitive, and try to win here in about 20 minutes. And the statistics on LSU playing in Coleman Coliseum are jarring. I mean, because Alabama's basketball program hasn't been that good. I mean, they've had their years, and Oates has elevated them certainly, but they haven't been that good over the last 20 years, and LSU almost never goes in there and wins. So we'll talk about what they've got to do to try to get that done here coming up on today's Friday edition. Our Friday edition is always brought to you by Corks, corksfishandshrimp.com. Get the big haul. Feeds 3 to 4 people, and it's affordable, and it's delicious. They have a lot of bulk ordering options. You can certainly get the full catering orders with the platters of the catfish, or the trays of the catfish and the shrimp and the french fries, but sometimes just looking to feed 4, 5, 6 people, maybe a watch party that you're having for some football on Sunday, Corks can get that done for you. Check it out at corksfishandshrimp.com. Also, po' boys is something I don't talk about a lot with Corks. Their catfish and shrimp po' boys are fantastic. I know a lot of times you get a hankering for those. That happens for me a lot on Sundays. Corks is open on Sundays and can serve you up a fantastic po' boy. Had a couple of folks that listen to the show will text me before they're about to go over there. I'm going to go check out Corks. Like, hey, anything on the menu is good. Tell me what you get. And a lot of times, I got a po' boy. It was real good. Check them out, corksfishandshrimp.com. If you missed any of hour number 1, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. You can search Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, and review. Always appreciate your support, getting us in front of as many eyeballs as we can. Those of you hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat, I see you. Throw some likes if you could here as we're about to break for the top of the hour. Open the show talking about LSU's loss to South Carolina on the hardwood last night. That was a tough one, but I thought an incredible spectacle and scene and environment for women's college basketball here in Baton Rouge. So I gave my thoughts on that, both small picture with the game and also big picture with what LSU's got to do moving forward. My thoughts on some LSU baseball, specifically in dealing with Jay Johnson's messaging to this team in hour number one. And we also talked about the conference championship games that we'll see in the NFL coming up on Sunday. Loaded hour number 2 is coming at you. I'm talking baseball after Sports Center coming up in 5 minutes. Talking LSU Alabama at the bottom of the hour. So plenty to get to. Come back after Sports Center. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. there are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
This is SportsCenter.
Christine Lisi. Huge boost for the AFC's top-seeded Ravens. Tight end Mark Andrews out the last 7 games with an ankle injury, activated off injured reserve, so quarterback Lamar Jackson gets back his favorite target for Sunday's AFC title game against the Chiefs. Unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
He allows the Ravens offense to be more multiple in terms of their personnel groupings. If you've got Mark Andrews, now you can go out there and play that 12 personnel, not lose a lot in terms of the run game and being able to maul at the line of scrimmage, but also have a guy that could be a matchup problem when the Kansas City Chiefs try to match your big personnel with base people on the field.
Since being drafted in the 3rd round in 2018, Andrews ranks in the top 3 in the NFL in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdown catches. 49ers receiver Deebo Samuel remains uncertain against Detroit NFC Championship game Sunday. He returned to practice yesterday, took part in a limited basis after missing Wednesday because of that shoulder injury. NBA Mavericks ruled guard Kyrie Irving out versus the Hawks tonight with a sprained thumb. Atlanta guard Trae Young listed as questionable. He's missed the last 2 games while in concussion protocol.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty. Coming up Monday, we'll react to the conference championship games and get you ready for the Super Bowl. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. Hopefully you've already punched that clock and you are out. If not, we'll get you there one way or another. We'll be with you for another hour. Matt will drive you home. One after further review from 3 to 6 this afternoon. Speaking of this afternoon, if you were expecting to go check LSU baseball out at 3:30 for their inter-squad scrimmage, you can still check them out this afternoon, but it will not be at 3:30. They have pushed things back to 5 o'clock. They're thinking there's going to be a break in the weather then. That may be good news for you if you're working and would really like to go watch but couldn't get off for 3:30. So you can get there for 5 o'clock. Going out, check out the team, their first inter-squad scrimmage, 5 o'clock this afternoon out at the box. Speaking of the baseball team, that's where I wanted to start hour number 2. They had their media session to start practice, essentially. They've been working out for the better portion of 2 weeks, but today's the official start of practice, 3 weeks from opening day, which, if you weren't aware, is also a 2 o'clock start. So 3 weeks from right now, they'll be throwing the first pitch out of the box. If you weren't aware of that, check the schedule. Those February games that are on work days are all going to be in the afternoon, whether it's Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're playing those February games in the afternoon to try to get some warmer weather. So plan accordingly if you like to get out there and need to ask off of work. But they did meet with the media today, and I was just taking some bits and pieces of things that Jay said and taking some notes based on the timing of the press conference. It was right before we went on air. We don't have time to pull the sound and play it for you. I've just got to paraphrase from my notes. But Jay Johnson was asked who's going to play first base. And his answer, 1, gives you an insight to who's going to play first base, and 2, alludes to a bigger point that I've been harping on really since last July. And he said that Jared Jones is going to be the first baseman. And then he continued and said, he and Paxton are guys I want to get behind. And what he means by that is he understands what this team is going to need offensively to get to the next level. We're going to talk about this team for 3 weeks preseason and then for 3-4 months during the season. And a lot of what I believe the talking will be around is, will they hit enough to be a championship team? I don't think you have to worry about whether or not they're qualified from a pitching perspective. There is so much depth and talent there, it's terrifying. Offensively, you're going to need a lot of guys to step up. There's no Cruz, there's no Morgan, there's no Dugas. Those are 3 huge pieces to the puzzle. There's no Thompson. There's no Beloso. Like, you're missing a lot of the guys that got you to the promised land last year. And I think it's reasonable to rely on some track records with some older guys. I think I know what Alex Milazzo is offensively. He's better than he was his first 3 years. He's not going to break out and be a star. I think I know what Hayden Travinski is offensively. He's a good SEC hitter who I think can get on base at a 350 clip and club some home runs and some doubles. I think I know what Mac Bingham is. We'll see. The SEC's a little better than the Pac-12, but it's not night and day. It is from a facilities perspective and a championships perspective. There's still guys in the Pac-12 throwing 94 miles an hour, and Mac Bingham was a 350 hitter who hit 7, 8, 9, 10 home runs. And that's probably what he is on this team. He's probably a high on-base guy, low slugging guy, but a quality college hitter. Like, I kind of know what that he is. I think Michael Braswell, somebody that we'll talk about that could exceed his ceiling. But honestly, the variables to this lineup, the biggest variables between guys who might be able to be superstars and might be able to be average players and might be below average hitters, that big chasm exists in the 4 highly touted sophomores. And Jared Jones and Paxton Kling, who Jay Johnson included in that answer, are 2 of those 4. The others are Brady Neal and Ethan Fry. If Jared Jones hits 24 home runs and gets on base at a 350 clip and drives in 70 runs, he's going to be in contention to be the SEC Player of the Year. He'll certainly be an all-conference player. If he strikes out so much he can't stay in the lineup, you're going to have to find somebody else to play. And I believe those 2 extremes exist as possibilities. Paxton Kling has Mikey Matuk's toolkit. Mikey Matuk was the SEC Player of the Year. He was a first-round pick. Paxton Kling could be a first-round pick. He might not be. He might be a below-average SEC player. Brady Neal didn't hit a ton last year. He graduated from high school early. He was thrust into catching duties. He showed you flashes. He homered off Hagen Smith. For those of you that aren't fully back into baseball mode yet, Hagen Smith is going to be the best left-handed pitcher in the conference this year. Might be the first college pitcher taken in the draft. He throws 96 miles an hour from the left side, and Brady Neal hit an opposite field homer off him last year. I think most of you, even if you're not in baseball mode, remember Chase Burns from Tennessee. He throws 100, great slider, lost his job in the rotation last year, but became a really good bullpen piece for Tennessee, and he's going to be in Wake Forest rotation this year, and Brady Neal homered off him too. Brady Neal might be a plus offensive catcher. He might hit 195. And we haven't seen much of Ethan Fry at all. We've heard Jay Johnson say he could be a star here. If those guys are way closer to their ceiling than their floor, then you've got a top 5 team in the nation, unquestionably. If those guys are closer to the floor than the ceiling, you've got offensive issues. You didn't have any of these questions last year about Cruz or Morgan or Dugas or Thompson. You already knew exactly what they were. And that's what they were. Beloso gave you more than you would have thought. A lot more. But, and you don't have, and this year, you don't have any concerns about White. I know what Travinski is. I think I know what Bingham is. Like I said, like those sophomores. And that quote that Jay used today, Jared's going to be our first baseman. He and Paxton are guys I want to get behind. That jives with something I was told 2 weeks ago when kind of talking about different aspects of the team. You're going to see a very, very long leash for Jared Jones, Paxton Kling, and Brady Neal. Perhaps Ethan Fry, we'll see about that. But the leash is going to be long for those guys. Last year, you could pull them because you had Pearson and Dugas and Beloso who were old and you could count on. And yeah, the ceiling's not going to be as high for those guys. Like the ceiling for Josh Pearson is not the same as the ceiling for Paxton Kling. Like, that just is. But you had veteran guys you could slide in. You knew what you were going to get. And quite frankly, as good as Cruz and Morgan and White were, if you could just get on base with some regularity, not be a black hole, and keep the line moving, that offense is going to be a nightmare. Well, you don't have Cruz and you don't have Morgan. You got some more questions. So we need to see where the upside guys are. They're going to get a long chance. So if Jared Jones has a really poor first 3 weeks, they're not going to quit on him. Yeah, Jake Brown is going to play some first base. Yeah, Travinsky may play a little bit of first base here and there, but Jones will probably DH. They're going to give him every chance to become a star. These are not conversations we were having last year because you had so much proven offensive depth. This year, that conversation changes. So what I'm telling you is, when you hear something and then you go to a press conference and you hear the same thing, that's where things are lining up over there. They're going to let the high ceiling guys go for a good bit. And they play a lot of baseball early in the season. So I'm excited to see what those guys can become. I'm not asking anybody to look like Dylan Cruz out there. I'm not asking anybody to look like Tommy White. I'm asking you to look like Cade Beloso. It's a fair ask, and those guys may be better. But we'll just have to see. That's where the big swing is for this team. I got a good feeling about that starting rotation. I've seen enough of these bullpen guys pitch to know that there's real talent there. I know what the older guys are going to be offensively. What are these sophomores, and how good can they make this LSU offense? That's the exciting part of this whole thing. I can't wait for them to get out there 3 weeks from right now. If you missed the top of this hour and want to see some baseball, thinking about all this, 5 o'clock at the box tonight. They're going to scrimmage. They'll also scrimmage on Saturday and Sunday if you'd like to check that out as well. I'll be out there Sunday at 1 o'clock. Cannot wait to see some baseball before we go home and watch a little conference championship action from the NFL. Speaking of action this weekend, LSU basketball going to be on the floor in Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. I'll get you ready for that one coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play. Looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Kind of hold on me like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
This Sunday, as we bring you both the AFC and NFC championship games, we start with the AFC at 2 p.m. where the Chiefs and Ravens will do battle. Immediately following that, it's Lions and 49ers for the NFC title. Catch both of those games this Sunday right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
When I make you promises, I always deliver, right? Always deliver on those promises. I'll deliver on this one. I don't know how often I do, but yesterday I promised you I'd go do the research on how LSU has fared in Coleman Coliseum, because I made the statement it feels like they've never won in Coleman. That, in fact, is not true. LSU has won in Coleman Coliseum. It just doesn't happen very often. Last win was in 2019. Those SEC champs went undefeated on the road. They won in Tuscaloosa, going 16-2 in the league. But Alabama against LSU in Coleman Coliseum since 2001 is 19-3. This is not Kentucky or Duke. This is not UCLA or Kansas. It's Alabama. Outside of the last 3 years with Oates, they haven't been that good. And LSU just never wins there. Now, I am a firm believer that means nothing in terms of tomorrow's game. I don't get the sense that because Andre Stringer didn't have a great run in Tuscaloosa, that Eddie Ludwig didn't get it done in Coleman Coliseum just means that tomorrow LSU's cooked. I don't think that Taurus Bright's run in Tuscaloosa is really important tomorrow. I'm not sure that what Antonio Hudson did, or, who are some of the guys that I'm thinking from some of those teams? I'm trying to think of the guy that went to NC State and played against LSU in the tournament. He was a 2-guard, had a goofy shot, and he was from Alabama, but I can't think of his name. Somebody will probably put it in the Bayou Ford chat. But yeah, doesn't matter. It just means that it's a statistical oddity that LSU has had such an issue winning in Ralston Turner. That's what I was looking for. Has had such an issue winning in Tuscaloosa. This Alabama team is 13-6, 5-1 in SEC play. They are 9-1 on their home floor. Their losses this year, they lost to Ohio State and Destin. They lost to Clemson. They lost to Purdue. That was in Toronto. They lost to Creighton on the road in Omaha. Lost to Arizona. Lost at Tennessee. The teams that they've lost to have been pretty good this year. So it's a quality team that Nate Oates has again. I don't know if it's quite as scary as last year's team that had Brandon Miller, who was just unstoppable at times, but it's good. And offensively, they've been as good as anybody in college basketball. They are number 1 in the nation in offensive efficiency. And that is because of their effectiveness from the three-point line. They are 7th in the country in 3 attempts per game, and they are 4th in the country in threes made per game. You know this by now, having watched Nate Oates' teams play. They are going to shoot threes and layups, and that's it. I saw somebody that was charting the Auburn-Alabama game from earlier this week, and I don't even remember who the person was, but it showed up on my Twitter feed, and they were like, just charted Alabama's shots against Auburn, and they only shot 3 shots in the entire game that weren't threes or layups. That's the only thing they do. And I was like, well, they've been doing this for 4 years. This is not exactly revolutionary, and it works. They're really, really good at it, and they're first in the country in offensive efficiency. They offensive rebound really well, as you would expect for a team that launches a bunch of threes. There's a bunch of long rebounds, and they offensive rebound them really well. They're 29th in the country in offensive rebounding. That is elite. They're 27th in the country in shooting percentage. And for a team that shoots that many threes to have that high a percentage shooting, you know they're really good on offense. There is one issue with this offense, and this is LSU's really, in my opinion, only chance to stay in this thing. Alabama's 175th in the country in turnovers offensively per possession. So 174 teams are better than them at taking care of the basketball. Auburn had 10 steals against Alabama. Tennessee had 15 steals and forced 22 turnovers from Alabama. Vandy had 10 steals on Alabama. Vandy couldn't beat Catholic High. Arizona had 13 steals on Alabama. They forced 18 Crimson Tide turnovers. I mentioned the 10 steals Vandy got. They turned it over 16 times against Vandy. So LSU kind of hangs its hat on that defensively. Yes, they've guarded the three-point line well. Yes, their shooting percentage against is pretty good. But steals have been a huge piece of the puzzle for LSU. And if they don't get 10 to 12 steals coming up tomorrow and convert those into 20 points off turnovers, 26 points off turnovers, it's going to be tough. Now, Nate Oates has fielded some really good defensive teams. His first team had Herb Jones on it. They had Big in the middle that was really tough, blocking shots, Diacono. But they haven't been great on defense this year. 146 in defensive efficiency, 106 in opposing shooting percentage, 93rd in block rate, 121st in steal rate. Like, not elite defensively. So hopefully LSU can create some good looks for themselves. But to me, LSU's real chance is that Alabama has a tough day shooting, which some days they do have a tough day shooting, and some days it gets really ugly. And I know most of y'all that pay attention to LSU basketball remember the game 3 years ago when Alabama came in here and they didn't miss for 45 minutes. Like, if that team shows up, it's over. Like, you're not going to beat them. It just is. They're going to shoot a lot of threes, whether you guard them or not. And if they start making a bunch of them, it gets ugly. I mean, that's why they've been as good. But some days they don't have it. And if you can combine that with some steals, you give yourself a chance. Mark Sears is their best player. He's their point guard. He scored 31 on South Carolina. He scored 22 on Mississippi State, 22 on Tennessee, 22 on Auburn, 35 on Purdue. He makes them go. He's a senior. He's a left-handed point guard. He shoots a ton of threes, and he is shooting 46% from three. 46%. You got to have a hand on him all the time. Jalen Cook, got to be on him all the time. And Mike Williams draws that assignment to him, hand on him all the time. He's not the quickest guy in the league. He's not the most explosive guy in the league. He's old, he's crafty, and he is deadly with his left hand. Got to find a way to run him off the three-point line. They'll find him in transition. He'll pull up in transition. They're not afraid to shoot a three at any point. They are happy to come to, like, J.J. Redick started this, and now Steph Curry kind of has taken it to another level, but, like, the guys that, like, on a 2-on-1 fast break will just pull up and shoot a three. Alabama's happy to do that. You're just not going to see him pull up and shoot a 6-footer. Grant Nelson is another X factor for Alabama, 6'11". He transferred in from North Dakota State. He leads the team in rebounds and blocks. He's 86% from free throw line. For a 6'11 guy to shoot it like that from the free throw line, that's pretty good. And guys like this, Grant Nelson, Dalton Knecht, who's at Tennessee, KJ Williams, who came here, guys from, and Mark Sears went to Ohio, and he's their best player. These are the guys that I think about when I think about the next really good LSU basketball team. I don't know when that's going to be. It's not going to be in March of this year. And I don't know when it's going to be. It might be next year. It might be 10 years from now. I have no idea. But these are the guys that make it happen. these guys from these little schools, North Dakota State, Ohio. I don't even remember where Dalton Connect played most of his ball. I'll look it up. But these are the guys who come out of nowhere and become stars. And you can find them all over the place. You don't have to recruit them out of high school and beat out Kansas and Duke for them. You just got to get the right ones. He was at Northern Colorado. Dalton Connect is going to be the highest SEC player drafted in this draft, and Tennessee found him at Northern Colorado. That's the nature of this thing. LSU is very rarely going to be in the mix for high 5-star players in college basketball. That's just the way it is. They don't grow up here very often. Who was the last superstar player from the state of Louisiana? Was it Javante? I mean, he wasn't a McDonald's All-American. But you can find Northern Colorado's best player and get him. You can find Ohio's point guard and get him. And that's what gives me hope, like, about next year's team for LSU, even while this one's going on. Because that's how you get really good. You do have to recruit some good high school players, and Bama has. Brandon Miller's pretty good. Just so happens that his dad played football for Alabama, and they had a good foot in the door there. But the transfer portal recreates your team year over year. So just because you don't have a good team one year doesn't mean you can't overhaul the whole thing and find something that clicks the next year. And while LSU football can recruit at the highest level and supplement that with a transfer portal because you've got so many good in-state players and you've got such a high profile that you can sustain excellence at LSU football the traditional way with some help from the transfer portal. And LSU baseball is a man amongst boys. There's only like 5 teams in the country that can even stand on the same footing as LSU. So you just go get Thatcher Hurd and go get Tommy White and Jacob Berry, go get Gage Jump, and you recruit Dylan Cruz and you recruit Paxton Kling and you go recruit Cam Johnson, and that's how you do it. LSU basketball, quite frankly, is not going to be wired like that. You don't have the history, tradition, passion, energy, commitment. None of that's there for the basketball program right now. But that doesn't, and that precludes you from signing 2 of the top 7 players in the nation. Kentucky and Duke and Kansas can go do that. LSU can't. But as I start to look at the scouting reports for all these teams to get you ready for these games, which is kind of what I feel like doing on this show, I think the other shows probably go more into what LSU needs to do and what LSU's trends are, and I feel like you know a lot of that and get it from the other shows, so I tend to talk more about the other teams to kind of prepare you for what you're going to watch. I see these guys having so much success who were at no-name schools previously and are stars in the SEC. I look at Janai Broom, who I told you about in the last segment of the first hour. He's Auburn's post and has been great for them for 2 years. They found him in Murray State's league. KJ Williams, a great player. These are the guys that I'm hanging my hopes on for LSU to find in the future to help create a basketball team that can hopefully create an environment like we saw in the PMAC last night. It can happen. I've seen it. I got off on a tangent there talking about LSU and Alabama, and Sears just triggered me into thinking about other things. But LSU and Alabama will play tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You can catch it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, 6 o'clock on the pregame show. 6:30 on the pregame show with Chris Blair and John Brady. I don't like LSU's chances much at all. I did not pick LSU to beat A&M at home. I did not pick LSU to go to Athens and win, and I'm certainly not going to pick them to go to Tuscaloosa and win. I'll see a number on this thing tomorrow. I would imagine it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, and I couldn't even pick LSU to cover. Now, if Alabama turns the ball over and has a poor shooting night, and LSU finds their three-point stroke, and Jalen Cook plays the way that he did in the game back on Wednesday, and LSU takes care of the ball a little better than they did on Wednesday, sure, but I'd pick Alabama to win this game comfortably in the second half. We'll see. We'll react to it coming up on Monday's show. Still plenty to get to here on a Friday edition brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. The NFC South has a couple of new head coaches. What does that mean for the Black and Gold? We'll tell you next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Monday through Friday, they will not take your vehicle for whatever service unless they can get it out that day. You know where I'm going? It's up on a rack you've been driving by for a week and a half. Hunt's Tire Pros and Car Care Center, all changes, tune-ups, alignments, battery service, belts and hoses, brake repair, everything you need done. Les Hunt and his professional staff. Hunt's Tire Pros and Car Care Center on Greenville Springs Road, 272-7404.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Recapping LSU South Carolina for the PMAC, it's Baseball Media Day, and the Right Radio Hours return. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Well, now you know that the New Orleans Saints decided they were going to retain Dennis Allen make some changes on the offensive staff and move forward into next football season. We're still waiting on who that new offensive coordinator is going to be. We were also waiting to learn who the next head coaches in half the division would be, and we got those answers this week. I thought both hires were curious in a couple of different ways. We'll start with the Atlanta Falcons hiring of Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris is a very, very well-respected coach in the National Football League, a defensive-minded coach, which is very rare for teams to hire this day and age. And I think it makes a lot of sense for the Rams defensive coordinator. They've been good under Sean McVay. That has been a stable organization, a championship-level organization, to get a job as a head coach. That makes a lot of sense. It's odd to me that the Atlanta Falcons are hiring a coach who was the interim there so recently. Raheem Morris was the interim head coach in Atlanta just 4 years ago. And they went 4-7. And look, I'm not going to necessarily hold someone's interim head coach record against them. That's obviously a very adverse situation. I think you can only really help yourself in that case in an interim situation. The plug's been pulled on the season, essentially, when you're asked to do this. But he was in the building and had worked there, and they decided to go in a different direction. And for some reason or another, they've decided to circle back with the same ownership. It'd be another thing if there was a completely different infrastructure there in Atlanta. And there are changes in football, and they've obviously brought a lot of Saints personnel in to do that. But it just seems a little odd to me that you had your chance to make him your guy 4 years ago and decided not to. And look, Raheem Morris was a head coach in Tampa a long time ago. He was the head coach there in 2009, 10, and 11, and they did not have success. They were 17-31. And I have no doubt that 13 years removed from that, Raheem Morris has a little better handle on how to run an organization. So I'm not here to proclaim a grand slam hire, a total swing and a miss, to poke fun at the Falcons or anoint them the next power in the NFC South. That's not really the point, because I don't know, and neither do you. But I just found it a little odd that that's the guy they circled back around to. And clearly it was an interesting search, being with the fact that the reports are that Bill Belichick spoke with Atlanta on multiple occasions. The other hire in the NFC South was Dave Canales. And Dave Canales has been hired by the Carolina Panthers to be their head coach. I don't know anything about Dave Canales in terms of his play calling ability, in terms of his quarterback development, in terms of how he is running a football operation. I don't know. He's never been a head coach. I thought that Baker Mayfield played well last year, and with Dave Canales calling the plays, makes sense that he did a good job and was elevated. What I find a little curious is that Dave Canales worked for the Seattle Seahawks from 2010 through 2022. He was there for 12 years. You know who had an opening at head coach this year? The Seattle Seahawks did. They weren't chomping at the bit to get him back. Again, that doesn't mean anything. But no one knows Dave Canales better than Seattle. And if they thought they had a gem, I think there's a good chance he could have ended up there. Now, what I'll say about Carolina hiring coach, whether it's Dave Canales or Bill Belichick or they dug up Vince Lombardi, whatever. That organization is set up to fail right now based on the ownership. Because he, by all accounts, is a disaster. Do I want him managing my money? Absolutely. I don't have very much, but Mr. Tepper, here you go. Make it work. Make me rich. Do I want him running a football program based on what we've seen the last 2 years? Absolutely not. Heavy-handed, too involved, reactionary, impulsive, impatient, all the worst qualities you can be in an owner. He seems to have them in spades. That's a positive for you New Orleans Saints fans. You got somebody that can't get out of their own way. That's a good thing. And it appears that's the case there. And perhaps because of that reputation, which is not just me saying it, I'm just Joe Talk Show down here in Baton Rouge, who's spending a lot of his time talking about LSU's baseball team. This is a league-wide reputation. This is respected people both in the sport and in the journalism world who were saying this Tepper guy is doing some funny stuff. And when you're consistently firing coaches halfway through a season and you're dictating who the team needs to draft, it's just a toxic situation. And I don't know that any coach is going to come in there and rectify that until David Tepper figures this out. Maybe he never does. Daniel Snyder never did. Same kind of thing. Got rich, bought a toy, wants too much to do with the toy won't work. How often do y'all hear about the Ravens owner? How often do you hear about who's running things in San Francisco? I don't. You write the checks, you create the work environment, you hire the executive staff, you put them in place, you go do your thing. I don't think that's the case in Carolina. I think there's a rich lunatic running around treating it like a game of Madden instead of running a business. So the point of this segment is not to grade the hires of the NFC South. Just kind of evaluate what they are. I'm personally kind of infatuated with the new, fun, offensive guys. Personal preference. I think those guys are winning a lot of games. John Harbaugh's not in that group, and he wins a ton of games too. He's a special teams coach. He wouldn't apply to any of this. But I like Kyle Shanahan and what he's doing and the people that have worked for him, and obviously McVay as well. And I think the bigger story probably in the NFC South when you're talking about coaching hires is that the Saints are, while they're not running in the same waters as these teams for a head coach, they are swimming in these waters as far as an offensive coordinator goes. And it appears that those waters have gotten a little crowded because Tampa may be looking around at some of the same names that the Saints are. We'll see what happens. But you always, when you're evaluating what you're doing from a hiring perspective, who's also in the hiring market? We talk about that all the time. And there are a lot of folks in the market for offensive coordinators because all these offensive coordinators are being elevated to head coaches, and there's a lot of vacancies in the offensive coordinator world. We've seen some of the Saints' potential targets take jobs. Pitcher staying in Cincinnati. Brian Johnson is someone the Saints have talked to. He spent the day with Cleveland yesterday. He'll meet with the Buccaneers next, and then he'll meet with the Saints as well. You're in the waters with these teams. And while there's no rush from a perspective of getting things set up for next football season, there is a bit of urgency when you consider other teams in the hiring pool. And the Saints are very much in that, and we'll see how this thing shakes out. It's very interesting, and right now, I'd rather be talking to you about the Saints in the NFC Championship game. We're not. We're talking about who can come in and give a shot of life to this offense. Maybe we get our answer over the weekend. Maybe it bleeds into next month like Luke Johnson told us yesterday. We'll just have to see, but you understand that there are two new head coaches in the NFC South. I don't know that either one terrifies me as someone interested in the Saints, but you never quite know how these things will shake out. We got one more segment to go here. We'll come back and close things out on a Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
I'm so fired up to tell you about a new partner here on The Hunt Palmer Show, Audio Video Security Solutions. AVSSLA.com is where you can find them. What is Audio Video Security Solutions? Well, it's pretty easy. It's all right there in the name. Audio, looking to surround sound in your home, create that awesome home entertainment environment. They can do it for you. Video, they can mount your televisions, all wired for your surround sound. Make your house the place to go watch the game. Security, they can put cameras and a security system to surveil your home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to protect you and your family in your home. AVSS, an awesome local company. Mitchell Fisher is doing a fantastic job running things here in Baton Rouge. I invite you to check out their website, avssla.com. You can get a free quote, whether it's something as simple as mounting a television or full home automation. You want to walk into your house and go, let's watch a movie. Lights dim, the shades come down, television turns on, surround sound's ready to roll. Do something as high-tech as that. They can help you with all of that over at Audio Video Security Solutions. Find them at avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer.
On Monday's OTB, which 2 teams made it to the big game? Plus, did the Pels manage to knock off the Thunder? And we got spread lines and weekend winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Watching some football, some basketball this weekend. Give our friends over at Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, a look. They have fantastic food. Jumbo Gulf fried shrimp, crispy, clean fried catfish, those shoestring fries. Whew, it's really good. Like I said earlier, I have not ruled out Corks for dinner tonight. It may be a possibility. I don't call all the shots in my house, so we'll see how that goes. But I think that might be a possibility. If not, might be a Sunday night watching some football. I'm excited to watch the NFL coming up on Sunday night. I picked my the games earlier. I got the Lions beating San Francisco. And I just think the Ravens are too good, too complete. And I realize that the Mahomes factor is a lot for some people. But Lamar has led a better offense this year, and their defense is every bit as good. I like Baltimore. So we'll see how things shake out coming up on Sunday in the National Football League. Earlier I picked LSU and Alabama. In basketball, I think Alabama's too much for LSU on the road as they've been in Coleman over the years, so I'm not super confident in that one. One more order of business here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, and that is, of course, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Former PGA Tour and Ryder Cup star Anthony Kim is reportedly in talks with LIV and the PGA Tour to make a comeback to professional golf. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Look, it's interesting. I think a lot of people that casually follow golf don't have any idea who Anthony Kim is. He is a really interesting case study. He exploded onto the tour, making a ton of birdies, huge personality, crazy belt buckle, playing on the Ryder Cup. Like he was a star. I think he shot 29 in the Masters or something on a 9. Like he was a ball of fire. And then he had this odd medical injury situation and kind of fell off the face of the earth from a public perspective. He kind of faded into the Texas moonlight and reportedly, and I think on solid ground, received a $20 million insurance settlement for disability. Like, I can't play golf anymore. I had this, injury, and I can't get back to PGA Tour level, and collected his $20 million. I don't know what that policy says and what the limits are on it and what the... I know at some point, if you went back to play, you were going to have to give the money back to go play. I think in the policy, as part of the, the payouts, like, hey, we'll pay you, but you can't go play golf. Now, if he wants to go play golf, he may have to pay it back. And in that way, he doesn't have any status on the PGA Tour. You have to go play on the Korn Ferry Tour, where you can't pay $20 million to the insurance company and then go play on the Korn Ferry Tour. Liv's the only option. And I'm sure they would love to have him because that's a storyline that could potentially get somebody interested when no one is interested in watching Liv. The ratings show that. So that'd be where he's headed. I think it's a crazy story. I'd like him to take a press conference and see kind of what is going on now. But he was something back in his day.
All right, this next one, we actually have some audio. So here is a clip from Jeopardy yesterday.
All is beautiful for 1,200, please.
This St. Louis Cardinals great slugged his 700th home run in 2022, his last season in Major League Baseball. Lloyd.
Who is the wretched Albert Pujols?
Wow, yes. The answer is correct. I can't speak to the adjective.
Go Cubs.
Take it or leave it.
My man, you talk about that's a daily triple. That's a daily quadruple, not just a daily double. You're going to throw a wretched Albert Pujols in there. That guy haunted my dreams for years. In my time in the NL Central, arch nemesis, Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, Ryan Braun, Christian Yelich. That's probably
not really any Pirates to speak of.
No, that's probably the top of the chain.
Maybe Andrew McCutchen.
No, they weren't any good. And I mean, look, Votto's been incredible, but I'm not like terrified of the Reds. Like the guys that I was truly competing. I mean, it started with McGuire, who was competing with Sosa, who was my childhood idol, and like I hated McGuire, but over time it's Yachty. Like I don't even hate like Wainwright, but Pujols was too good and I hated him. Yachty was just a jerk, so I hated him. Braun, steroids, too many homers. I did not like him at all. And Yelich just absolutely annihilated the Cubs in every way, including one of the times I was in Wrigley where we had a lead late and he smashed one up into the center field seats and broke my heart. So, just awful.
All right, last one here. Fear of spiders. Take it or leave it.
Okay, this is a story from the Hunt Palmer house, not the Hunt Palmer show. Yesterday, right before bedtime, bedtime's about 7:30 for Myers Man in the Palmer's house. He's sitting next to my wife, like on the ground, and my wife saw a spider and reacted to it, and he saw the spider. He's never seen a spider before. He did not like it. Crawling on the ground, like that was not for him. We are very, very lucky. I don't want to upset parents, because there's probably a lot out there. We understand how lucky we are that at about 6 weeks, we put him down at 7 o'clock, and he woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning every night, period. I think he's woken up twice in 2 years. Last night, we put him down at 7 o'clock.
No.
At 11 o'clock, he is screaming in the bed.
The spider, has it ruined it for you?
No spider. No spider. He got in our bed. That's never happened. We put him in our bed at 11 o'clock, and I looked at Alyssa. I said, we're not doing this. Like, we got to put him back in the crib, because if he can remember that spider from 4 hours ago, which memory has not really been a thing for him, if he can remember that, like, he's going to remember that he can get in this bed, and we're never sleeping in here again. So We got to put him back in, and he fought it for a while. We were up until like 1:30. We got him back down. We'll see how things go tonight, but
not the
fear of spiders is not looking good in the Palmer house, and if he's going to wake up and be terrified there's a spider in his room at 11 o'clock or midnight every night, that's not working.
No.
So we need to get back to sleeping 12 hours solid and not making a peep, because I'm used to that.
Maybe once you guys move to the new house, you can tell him that spiders don't exist in the new house.
I don't know if he gets that.
He may not get that.
I don't think he gets
probably
it.
Doesn't.
He's tough to communicate through. The spider thing was real, though, last night, because he woke up and was screaming, which I'm telling you, he's 2 years and a month, almost exactly. So 25 months. He has woken up in the middle of the night 3 times.
That's very impressive.
It's been a dream. If there is a round 2, we'll see if we're lucky enough to have that happen. I'm assuming it won't be this easy. This has been really easy. We'll see if spiders are throwing a huge wrench into this, because I don't need a third person in my bed, quite frankly. That's it for us on a Friday edition presented by Corks. You missed it. Catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can find us, and of course, you can find us on YouTube as well. Reaction to LSU in South Carolina last night. LSU Baseball Media Days had a couple of segments on that as well. Got you ready for the NFC Championship games and LSU and Alabama on the hardwood. We're reacting to it all. Same time, same place on Monday. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review next. Have a great weekend. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service.